Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. A Mi'kmaq man was recently arrested by RCMP and charged on suspicion of driving while intoxicated. The incident was caught on video last Friday in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, and has caused some concern. Angel Moore has the details and a warning some viewers may find the arrest disturbing.
You guys don't understand at all. At all, you guys don't have no understanding.
That is Fred Siliboy. Police arrested him for refusing to take a breathalyzer. This video was taken by one of Siliboy's family members just after police tasered him twice on his left arm and chest.
I hit my mouth here and here, my face, I got marks all over me. And then I got the second taste from them. And I got marks all over my knee. And I got a second taste from them too. I didn't expect this to happen. I don't know why this was happening to me.
The incident happened last Friday night after RCMP received a call of a truck driving erratically. Police pulled Siliboy, 58, over in front of his family's home in the Eskasoni First Nation, Onamagi, Mi'kmaq for Cape Breton. Siliboy spoke to APTN News while visiting the Hunters Mountain Mi'kmaq community.
How come you're pulling me over? I said, your report is for impaired driving. Impaired driving? I said, why the heck are you pulling me over for impaired driving? I said, I never even drank for 30 years, or I don't even do drugs. I said, the other one said, your report is for impaired driving. I never did nothing wrong.
Mi'kmaq is Siliboy's first language and says he asked for a Mi'kmaq translator, and he repeatedly told the officers he does not drink.
He didn't listen. He didn't make any calls for translators or bring in Mi'kmaq cops. So he told me, you're under arrest, sir. So I got really offended because I don't drink. I told him I'm refusing the breathalyzer.
RCMP has confirmed to APTN News in an email that Siliboy was charged with refusal to comply with a demand, 2 counts of assaulting police officers and resisting arrest. They also admitted to using a conductive energy weapon. Chief Leroy Denny of the Eskasoni First Nation was not available for an interview, but posted this on social media. He wrote, "First and foremost, I have spoken with Fred to offer my support. It is important that he knows the community supports him during this time. And our leadership is constantly pushing the RCMP to learn about our culture and to try and understand our community. We are actively working with them on efforts to address the historical disconnect. Siliboy is grateful for that support."
Those statement brought out by Chief Leroy. When I seen that, and I just got a call from him, and he told me, don't worry about it, we're going to the wedding, your family. And I told you, I want these for 2 months. So, I'm glad you made your post.
Siliboy is scheduled to appear in an Eskasoni court on December 16th. He says he is seeking legal counsel and will fight the charges. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Hunters Mountain, Nova Scotia.
A Sunday afternoon shooting has a First Nation in Northern Ontario currently under a shelter-in-place advisory. Anishinaabe Police Service says school buses were cancelled today for Brunswick House First Nation students as the advisory remains in place for the community. The precautionary measure was announced following a shooting on Sunday, October 12th. Brunswick House First Nation is about 250 kilometers north of Sault Ste. Marie. Police say they responded to a disturbance call from a residential address in the community where an injured male was located. According to the latest update from NAPS, the exact extent of the victim's injuries is not known at this time, but are not believed to be life-threatening. Members of NAPS and the Ontario Provincial Police are searching for a male suspect. Brunswick House First Nation is located in Anishinaabe Nation territory, NAN just last week declared a public state of emergency following a fatal drug-related shooting incident that unfolded in Ganoogaming First Nation. NAN, which represents 49 First Nations in Northern Ontario, saying last week that it's come to the point in some cases where our chiefs and council feel like they're losing control of their communities. The Senate Committee on Science and Technology is currently studying Bill S-202. Senator Patrick Brazeau introduced it in 2023. Its aim is to put warning labels on alcohol packaging, similar to ones on cigarette packages, to talk about the link to cancers. Brazeau told the committee he is no stranger to the negative impacts of alcohol, including addiction, domestic abuse, and mental health issues leading to suicide. He says studies prove alcohol is linked to 7 types of cancers, including colon cancer, which he personally battled. Brazeau said the biggest challenge is getting industry on board.
Industry, the alcohol industry and lobby are interested in one thing and one thing only, and those are profits. They do not care about the health or well-being of Canadians. That's the bottom line. But we all have a job to do in life, and even representatives of these companies will have to come here and try and save face and try and put the best answers forward. But we know they have a job to do, but we also have a job to do. And our job is to make sure that Canadians from coast to coast to coast are aware of the dangers, the negative impacts, and the 7 cancers that alcohol causes.
The Premier of British Columbia is asking the federal government for help in addressing recent tariffs put on the softwood lumber industry by the United States. Premier Eby says the U.S. is now demanding an additional 10% tariff on Canadian forest products. He says Canada is now paying a higher tariff than Russia. Eby says this is a direct attack on the thousands of families who depend on this industry for a living, and they're asking the federal government to step in.
With this additional threat that we are facing from the president, we know that it isn't just, another thing that Donald Trump is saying. This threat is a direct threat to the livelihood, to the existence of mills in every corner of British Columbia. And those mills provide jobs for families. They use the money they earn there to pay the rent, to pay the mortgage, and in some cases, to support entire communities. It's an existential threat that the sector is facing because of an attack by the President of the United States.
Still in British Columbia, justice officials and First Nation leaders are celebrating the official opening of a diversion center in Prince George. They hope will keep Indigenous peoples out of jail. Officials say the center is the first of its kind in Canada, and it offers a therapeutic diversion model focused on the root causes of offending. Participants agree to take part in a set of activities for 90 days or longer if they so choose in order for their charges to be dropped. The center works with existing services and includes a trauma-informed multidisciplinary team of professionals. It provides participants with access to things like ceremony, land-based healing, elders, counseling, and art therapy. During the grand opening, the BC First Nations Justice Council also signed a letter of agreement with the Prince George RCMP to address the over-incarceration of Indigenous people through diversion.
This will change people's lives. This will is fiscally responsible, but more than that, it'll lead to safer, better, stronger communities, and we will have Indigenous people be able to, will change the statistics.
The centre is funded by Public Safety Canada. A food security researcher says the hunger crisis in Nunavut has reached new heights. Details on that and more after the break. Welcome back. One person is dead and 2 are missing after a typhoon off the western coast of Alaska flooded streets and washed away homes in native villages over the weekend. Typhoon Halong brought winds up to 110 kilometers per hour, severe storm surges and floodwaters strong enough to sweep away homes. Over 50 people had to be rescued, some of whom were saved from rooftops. Officials say the villages of Kipnuk and Quimgillinuk were hardest hit, and that most residents in both communities are sheltering in local schools. Alaskan state troopers say a woman is dead and 2 people are accounted for in Quimgillinuk. Research shows the state and even whole communities are being impacted by climate change, making them more vulnerable to severe weather events. Food security researcher says Nunavut is gripped by the worst hunger crisis she's ever seen. Both Inuit and non-Inuit academics say hunger in Nunavut is not a new challenge, but it's an issue that's been increasing in recent years. APTN web reporter Jesse Staniforth took a deep dive into hunger in the territory with a 4,000-word article published on APTN News last Friday. He joins us now to tell us what he uncovered. Jesse, thanks for being with us. Can you tell us a bit about what's happening with hunger in Nunavut?
Sure. So for my article, I spoke with a number of experts over the last couple of weeks in a number of different communities who were sounding the alarm about what everybody was calling a hunger crisis and saying that across Nunavut, people are just simply struggling to keep their families fed. Now, a few weeks back in late September, there was a press conference at a place in Iqaluit called the, I'm going to get the pronunciation wrong here, but Kajukturvik Community Food Center. And the director there, Joseph Murdoch Flowers, talked about how in the preceding week, there had been a single day in which 8% of the entire population of Iqaluit had come to eat and get a hot lunch there. But the problem is that's no means specific to Iqaluit. I spoke with an elder in Pond Inlet named Rhoda Katsuk, who talked about the extent of the hunger emergency in her own community. And I also spoke with a University of Toronto professor, Tracy Galloway, who works on nutrition in the north and hunger. And she said that she had been in the Western Arctic in February, and she said it was the worst hunger crisis that she had ever seen when she visited there.
Now, there's been a change in funding from Indigenous Services Canada. Can you tell us a bit about what's happened there?
Right. And immediately after that time that she was discussing in February, at the end of March, Indigenous Services ended what was known as the Hamlet Food Voucher Program. And that was a temporary measure that was giving families $500 per month per child for food, and then an additional $250 per month per child under 4 for diapers. And it was part of the Inuit Child First Initiative, which is the Inuit version of Jordan's Principle. And at the end of March, the federal government announced they were going to be extending the initiative for another year, but they were not continuing the Hamlet Food Voucher Program. And what that meant was that suddenly a lot of people across Nunavut lost thousands of dollars with which they'd been using to feed and clothe their children more or less overnight. Now, Indigenous Services has said this was never supposed to be a permanent program, but unfortunately advocates across Nunavut have said that in its absence, there's just simply been nothing to pick up the slack.
Right. The extreme cost of groceries in the Inuit Nunavut has been an issue for many years, but there seems to be abundant wildlife in the territory that people can hunt. Why aren't more Inuit turning to hunting for food sovereignty?
Well, and everybody that I spoke to talked about how much Inuit would love to be on the land hunting country food. You know, being able to eat seal and caribou and whale and fish. This stuff is it's local, it's available. It's also extremely healthy. It's nourishing. It's comforting. It brings people together with their families and their communities and connects them with their ancestral traditions. The only problem is it's extremely expensive to hunt in Nunavut, and that makes it basically impossible for many Inuit to access country food. You know, we start with the cost of firearms and cartridges, which is expensive on its own. But then you have to think about vehicles, ski-doos, four-wheelers, boats, and outboard motors are much more expensive than they are in the south, and that's to say nothing of the cost of gasoline. So there's no question a high percentage of Inuit would love to be on the land hunting country food. It's just that it's so hard for so many people to afford.
So what is the federal government doing? How are they responding?
It's hard to say exactly what the federal government is doing. I tried to get an interview with Indigenous Services, and they responded. They were only going to respond to questions that I sent by email. So I sent them some questions, and they really took pains not to respond to my questions directly. They focused their response on saying that short-term programs like the Inuit Child First Initiative were not enough on their own, and that they were working on long-term approaches. But I specifically asked them to respond to experts saying that there is a hunger crisis ongoing in Nunavut, and they really made an effort not to discuss the issue of hunger, and they would not answer a yes or no question about whether or not there was a hunger crisis ongoing, and that's basically where we left it.
Well, important reporting there, Jesse. Appreciate you taking some time for us here to talk about it.
Thank you so much, Dennis.
And you can go to aptnnews.ca to read Jesse's full story on this issue. Time for one last break, and then we'll bring you a story from Montreal's Fashion Week. Stick around. Starting on the East Coast, cloudy and 11 for Fredericton, cloudy and 15 in Halifax. 4 for Kuujjuaq, sun's out, and 7 for Nain. 12 with the cloud out in Montreal, 9 and sunny in Val-d'Or. Sunny skies and 12 for Sault Ste. Marie, 11 in North Bay and Ottawa. 9 in Kapuskasing, 15 in Thunder Bay. 11 in God's Lake, cloudy and 8 for Thompson. 12 for Winnipeg, cloudy and 10 for Dauphin. 7 in Regina, cloudy and 6 in Saskatoon. 6 in Meadow Lake, sunny and 8 in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, sunny and 14 for High Level, 9 with the sun out for Fort McMurray. 12 in Edmonton, 10 in Lethbridge and Medicine Hat. 16 in Vancouver, sunny and 15 for Kamloops. 11 for Prince George, 7 in Dease Lake. 1 in Old Crow, 5 in Whitehorse. 10 in Yellowknife, plus 2 for Norman Wells. -3 in Sax Harbor, snow and 2 below in Pawatuck. -1 for Chesterfield, -3 for Baker Lake, -5 with snow in Resolute, 1 below in Joe Haven. Superstar Shawn Mendes surprised his sold-out crowd at his concert in Vancouver over the weekend with a surprise guest.
Where do I start and how do I say it? My voice is so tired.
27-year-old Teal Wood, who's from the Saddle Creek Cree Nation in Alberta, joined Mendes on stage to perform his song Youth. However, Wood was able to add her own verse, singing about the crisis of murdered and missing women and girls in Canada. Our Tina House will have a full report for you on Thursday. Identity can be redefined through textiles and tradition. That's what Stephanie Ducev discovered when she met with the members of the Mode Autochtone design collective just before their fashion show during Montreal's Fashion Week.
These embraces are signs that a challenge has been met. Indigenous designers were in the spotlight, as highlighted by Minitipi co-founder Trisha Pitura, a member of the Nipissing Nation.
Today is such an amazing day to have 6 other Indigenous businesses celebrating our culture.
The event held at Montreal's McCord Museum was sold out. José Leblanc, founder of Atticus Canada, underlines the importance of their presence.
Il n'y avait jamais eu d'Autochtones qui avaient participé à la Fashion Week, donc cette année, c'est encore plus gros que l'année dernière.
It's the collective's second show, but the first in the official Fashion Week program. Designer Valérie Larouche of Mikunis Collection says she has outdone herself.
Mes tenues sont incroyables. Ils étaient incroyables sur papier, mais quand je les ai vues, c'était encore pire. Là, j'avais envie de pleurer.
Larouche is Innu from Maastricht. One of her creations was worn by Model for the Day, AFNQL Regional Chief Francis Véropol. José Leblanc, who is Innu from Washat Makmani-Utenam, looks back on the collective's beginning.
Parce qu'on trouvait tout que ça n'avait pas de bon sens, qu'il n'y ait aucun designer autochtone, quand nous, on sait qu'à travers toutes les communautés, il y en a dans toutes les 55 communautés du Québec, il y a 2, 3, 4, 5 designers. Donc, on avait le droit d'avoir notre place et on voulait avoir notre place.
The message resonates with designer Jolene Robichaud.
Ce que je veux dire aujourd'hui avec ma collection, c'est je veux dire aux gens autochtones de prendre l'espace puis se sentir bien quand ils marchent partout.
Robichaud is Mi'kmaq and Acadian, and she embraces all of her identities.
C'est dernièrement que j'ai vraiment commencé à me sentir bien avec ma culture, puis d'apprendre assez que je peux en partager avec les gens. Donc, je prends beaucoup plus d'espace.
The collective says its 7 designers are leaders in the fashion industry, both within and outside their communities. Also a member of the Innu community of Maastricht, Raphaël Langevin is a mother of 2, owner of a food truck, and designer. She is just 26 years old.
Pour nous, c'est tellement naturel, tu sais, le vêtement ou l'apparat, c'est quelque chose qui est tellement ancré profondément en nous que j'ai appris à coudre dans la cuisine avec ma mère puis ma grand-mère quand j'avais 8 ans. Quand j'avais 16 ans, j'ai appris à faire du perlage, puis quand j'avais 21 ans, j'ai décidé de me partir en entreprise pour faire ça à temps plein.
According to the collective's founder, Wendat Jason Picard-Binet, domestic production is still possible.
Les créateurs travaillent à partir d'un rouleau de cuir ou à partir carrément d'un bout de tissu. Donc, on fait tout maison. On veut ramener, en fait, la création locale.
A practice already used by many artisans. The collective is in the process of becoming a nonprofit organization. It says it will open its doors to other creators from Indigenous communities.
Donc, pour nous, ce soir, c'est important parce que c'est vraiment le feu de départ. C'est là que la braise, ce soir, va s'embraser, puis on veut que les gens reconnaissent nos savoirs.
Stéphanie Decève, APTN National News, Montréal.
Good stuff. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For news anytime, though, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. And we will be back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for your first look at Wednesday's news. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy Miigwech, thanks for being with us. Stick around for an encore presentation of Face to Face. That's up next. Have a great night.